Grumpy old men. Right, okay. What did I say we're going to talk? We're going to carry on a conversation about motivating your employees, because I sent in another piece here with 3 top tips, because I like a list. Here you go, 3 top tips for motivating.
Yeah, but what I like about your articles is always a picture. I like the picture.
You like the pictures? Yeah, there is.
But that's really hard on a radio program.
I was going to say, it doesn't make good radio unless you try and boringly describe that.
Well, then you have to convert it back to a list anyway.
Yeah, but we'll go with the list. First of all, provide the right tools for success for your employees. Do you do that, guys?
I'd like to think so. We're in a tech world. The guys know what tools they need more than I would. They're the ones physically doing it, and we need to have the right approach to that. We can't just open up a checkbook for everything, but equally we've got to set them up right with the physical tools they need, the training tools.
A tool, regardless of the tool.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we've got to set them up with all of those tools. So
I'd say another tool is sort of how we do things here. Your processes and procedures guide. If you do things in a certain way, actually making sure that people are aware of how that works and how that can be replicated, so the customer service is always at a really good standard because everybody's working in the same way.
Yes, Daryl's going to either going to help me out or going to contradict me here, but there is a model called a behaviour engineering model, which is how to get 100% performers. How many bases do you need to cover? The top, it's as usual, it's a grid of 6 squares. The top 3 are all to do with organisational commitment. They're to do with the right tools, the right information flow as well. So you've got to tell people what's going on. It's not like being a mushroom.
Yeah.
And the third one at organisational level is provide the right incentives.
Yes.
For people to
but aren't always what you think.
Exactly. That was my point.
But actually, just picking up on the bit about information, I mean, even for companies just to say, this is what we're trying to achieve here, guys, and everyone understanding what that is, because of so many big companies, they actually seem to forget. They just sort of see people as, this group of employees that have just come in and do this particular function, but half the time they probably don't even know why they're there. What's the big vision?
And for me, that's the contrast between organizations that have what I would say measuring their organizational effectiveness. They've got all the right stuff. They know what they're doing, where they know they have the systems, they have the people, they have the training and all that, versus their clarity of business purpose. What are they trying to do? And there are organizations that have both of those. And there are some that have really great systems and stuff, but aren't clear and faff around a lot. Or they're really clear and they're very obstructed because they don't have good processes and organizational effectiveness around it there.
I mean, this idea of what are we all here for as a group, the lower level, the bottom 3 boxes are all to do at individual levels. So you've got to think about 3 key areas as an organisation and 3 key areas that here's the pun, key into that at the individual level. And keying in with the clear message of what we're about at an individual level, then you select people select themselves. They buy into that.
And they translate it into their activities. What part do I play in that?
Yeah. So if you're confusing about what you're really about, then you're not you can't really blame the wrong people for turning up and getting the job, because they didn't really know what they were getting into. So are you clear about, if the world were to get rid of your 2 businesses, what would the world miss? Yeah, I should have prepared that before.
They're looking blank on us. They're thinking.
I think for many businesses, that question is almost like the USP question. What's your USP? Oh, please. How many businesses actually have a USP? Now, I'd say they have a point of difference, so what would the world miss if urban media didn't exist?
If nobody was doing it. I'm not talking about competition. It's just if nobody was doing what you do, what would we miss?
Well, we'd do things differently. It's as simple as that. They'd miss the way of marketing their business online, but they'd find another way.
There's one I love to quote. I think they've changed it now, but at one point, and again, you've been shopping there this week, Walmart.
Yes.
Didn't they say on their sole purpose of being in business was so that poor folk can buy the same stuff as rich folk?
It's something along that line.
Everything else we do is tied to that. That's brilliant. I love that.
Yeah.
Anyway, going back to my article, a list. Item 1, to keep your employees motivated, we said was provide them with the right tools, and it looks like you all do, including the training. Item 2, recognise your employees' accomplishments.
Ooh,
and I know that you've just taken everybody to a party. You invited Karen, couldn't go.
Yeah.
You had a Christmas party.
I know, look at that.
Recognise people.
But that's on a weekly basis. You know, I do my sort of Elton's 5-minute stand-up on a Monday morning, which shouldn't, it shouldn't really be comedy. I'm sure.
And did you do that after the Christmas weekend?
Exactly. Yeah. You know, and again, I always want to take actual things to that where I can say, you know, I just want to make a point of saying, hey, Fred here has done this, and that's helped the business out already by X, Y, and Z. So not just I want to say well done to everybody, you're all really good. A little bit meaningless, but specific things. You know, it's so important, and I think businesses miss it actually.
Yeah,
but it's so important.
Well, I always talk about the difference between general praise and feedback.
Yeah,
you know, praise makes us all feel warm and gooey. You guys are great. You know, but positive feedback is much more specific and allows you to replicate it.
Yes.
The third point, because we're coming to the point where we're going to have to round up and finish soon, but the third point on the list here is help your employees achieve the right work-life balance.
Yeah.
You know, no driving them to stay till midnight and so on. Yeah. And my point was, it's all about it being very personal. You have to be careful that you reward employees according to their own personal desires, needs, motives. Darryl and I both know the work by Alfie Cohn, who wrote a book, Punished by Reward, where giving bonus schemes, paying money to people, sending them on fancy trips as a reward can actually decrease their performance.
Yes.
Simply put, because it takes their mind off their own internal satisfaction at doing a good job onto things like winning trips.
Yeah.
This isn't a good focus. So, final piece of music before we do close.